Well, there's a lot of concern these days about what is called deep fakes. Recently, my son showed me a video and said, "Dad, this technology is going to change everything." It used to be that if you had a picture or video of something, then you knew that it was true. Well, today it's becoming a lot harder. In fact, one of the latest growth industries is software that tries to help you determine whether something is real or fake. Well, today I want to ask you a more personal question. Are you a deep fake? How does that happen? How do we become deep fake people? People who live a divided life at its core. And then hopefully, because we are here to provide hope, we want to talk about the process of how we can restore a sense of integrity to your life. Welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, let me just say a couple things. I realize that primarily the way that people hear about what I do is through these podcasts. And if you would love to help getting the podcast out to a wider audience, apparently, and I'm not a huge techie guy here, there are some ways that would help. One of them is just to leave a rating or a comment where those come up in your podcast app. Apparently, that's really helpful. Maybe even a more low-tech way, well, I guess it uses tech, but a simpler way is simply to share it with a friend. Share this podcast or another podcast with somebody you know may not have heard about the podcast. That would be good as well. And finally, let me just say that we're going to talk a little bit today about a diagram that is going to be on the Circle platform. It's a learning platform that you can sign up for. You'll see the sign up in the show notes. And it's just a great way to get a hold of a whole bunch of free documents, planning, recovery planning tools that you can make use of, but also a way to find out more about the Finding Traction courses. You can watch a couple videos there, lesson number 1, lesson number 2, and find out more about our groups that are starting up this fall. We're going to be starting up a new set of groups this fall for guys that are interested in taking a step forward in their recovery. So if any of that interests you, I really encourage you to reach out to me, sign up for Circle. But if you want to just talk to me or you want to maybe set up a free Zoom call, send me an email at bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. Well, today's lesson really makes use of a diagram that, again, is under free resources on Circle. And for those of you who are driving right now and listening to this podcast, I will do my best to explain it. Don't look for it. Please don't drive off the road. And this is the diagram. The diagram is a picture of a diamond with a point at the top, a wide middle, and coming back to a point at the bottom. Okay, tracking? The top point we are going to call your starting point. The wide middle we are going to call your deep fake life or your double life. And the point at the bottom we are going to call, or where the lines come together at the bottom, we're going to call your integrity. Now, on the left side of this diamond, we are going to draw an arrow from the top starting point down to the expanded middle, and we are going to call that the process of disintegration. On the right side of the diamond, we are going to start an arrow at the wide middle to the bottom point, and we are going to call it the process of integration. You got it so far? Better yet, download the document. So let's start at the top and talk about how your deep fake double life starts. Maybe you were younger, an event happened or happened to you that you may have felt guilt over or a sense of shame. Maybe you told a lie. Maybe you stumbled on a website or your dad's porn magazines or something, and there was something inside of you that you felt, gee, I feel bad about this. I need to cover it over. Maybe you looked around to see if anybody noticed, or you took active steps to protect yourself from exposure. Now, every time you made a small decision like that, the gap between the real you and the public you began to widen. What was, at first perhaps instinctual became a pattern. Then it became a practice habit, then a trait, then something you began to do automatically. Maybe your deceptive patterns started out mostly just hiding things as opposed to overt lying to other people. But over time, perhaps even that boundary began to blur. Now, the diagram on the left, the arrow on the left side of the diagram shows this process of disintegration. And why do we call it from the top to the middle a process of disintegration? Why? Because the gap keeps growing. It's like walking on two boards, left foot and right foot, that become further and further apart. We begin to do the splits. And in this process of disintegration, some things begin to grow. Perhaps it's a growing sense of anxiety because we're acutely aware of this gap and we, feel that, gee, others must see that we're play acting or hiding things as well. Maybe we become increasingly nervous and concerned that our hidden behaviors are going to be discovered by those close to us. And over time, as we grow older, the circle of people that we're hiding from grows. From parents, then friends, then bosses, then spouses, then children. You see, the stakes just keep feeling higher and higher, which then also leads us to a growing sense of instability. Perhaps in this growing gap, we seek to paper over it by redoubling our efforts to be the good guy, the nice guy, the funny guy. The book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, talks about how one of the core traits that are practiced in this pattern is that of deceptiveness, the nice guy. Now, at some point in this diagram, the gap or the mid part of the diamond becomes at its widest point. And now we are fully living out a double life, a divided life, a deep fake life. The book of James in the New Testament describes the reality of this person as somebody who is unstable in all their ways. All we know is that it often leads to a feeling of being exhausted. It's like we're trying to hide a beach ball at the beach under the water so that nobody sees it, and it keeps, of course, wanting to surface. This place is actually a tremendously torturous place to be. For example, in Psalm 51, King David cries out for an undivided heart, knowing that there's a split down the center of his being. And he wants to do anything to leave that place of internal torture. Now, it's at this place of what some people call rock bottom, some people call repentance, where the bottom half of the diamond becomes possible. Maybe it's something internal, or maybe it's something external that breaks us out of that sense of anguish and paralysis. Maybe it's an external disclosure or revelation where the hidden truth comes out. Let me say this, and I've heard this over and over. For many, that disclosure, that breaking, that when the double life becomes known, it often almost comes, it comes with a sense of relief. It's like, finally, I can quit lying and hiding. It has been exhausting. People have described that process of when everything comes out sometimes as maybe their best and worst day all in one. So perhaps, and I would add in here, with God's grace, we begin the slow but painful step of the bottom half of the diagram, the steps of integration. We begin to take small, courageous steps of telling the truth rather than hiding. For example, for the brand new guys in my group that are starting this out, I say to them at the beginning, I am far more concerned with you learning to tell the truth and not hiding than I am with whether you relapsed or not. So we begin to take small steps of transparency. We begin to strip down the facade between our public and our private version of ourselves. And slowly but surely, these two lines begin to draw closer together. So as we do that, we begin to experience the benefits of growing truth in our lives. For example, our internal peace and security begins to grow since we're not worried about being found out. You know, our wife asks if she can use our phone or our kids. She says, sure, here you go. We begin to feel a growing sense of security that the choppy waters of our life are calming. We begin to have a slow sense of growing stability, that the slightest thing won't push us over the edge. Here's the thing, we are slowly becoming whole, sound, complete, undivided. Or to put it another way, we are becoming a person of integrity. Not perfect, not having it all together, but a person who doesn't have, here's two fancy words, guile or artifice. What you see is what you get. Does that sound good to you? Does that sound like a relief? Are you tired of being a divided person? Are you tired of being a deep, fake person? I sure was. And are you willing to begin the process of integration towards becoming a person of integrity? I sure hope so, for your benefit and the benefit of people around you. To quote from the Big Book of AA, it says this, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. And that's my hope for each of you. We'll see you next time.